students, a very good morning to you. How are you? I hope you all okay and doing your work properly. Dear students, today we will continue our chapter 14 of class 11, that is respiration in plants. In our last class we have studied about glycolysis, that how pyruvic acid is formed from glycolysis, and today we will see how that pyruvic acid is used by different type of organisms, means single celled organism and multicellular organism. And the topic is fermentation. Fermentation is normally the process in which yeast converts the fruit juice into ethanol or alcohol. But here we will see how some bacteria releases ATP or energy during this process and with some extra products. So how will we define the process of fermentation? This is the process that is occur through, we can write this process is a part of anaerobic respiration. Respiration is divided into two types, one is aerobic and anaerobic. So fermentation come under anaerobic respiration, in which some bacteria or simple celled organisms like yeast, some bacteria and yeast respires in the absence of oxygen and they form carbon dioxide and ethanol. So that's why this process is a part of anaerobic respiration, in which some simple bacteria and yeast respires in the absence of oxygen to form ethanol or alcohol. This process is called as fermentation. And in fermentation, the incomplete oxidation occurs. Why this is called incomplete? Because here it takes place in the absence of oxygen, so sufficient amount of oxygen will be not available. That's why this is called as, in this process, incomplete breakdown of glucose occurs or incomplete oxidation occurs. Incomplete oxidation occurs, and as a result the pyruvic acid is get converted into ethanol or alcohol. Sometimes in our muscle cells, means in our striated muscles, when there is less supply of oxygen occurs, there is also lactic acid forms. In our muscle cells, you have studied in class 10, in our muscle cells, due to incomplete supply of oxygen, lactic acid is formed. So overall in this topic, means in fermentation, we will study about how ethanol and lactic acid are formed in both simple cell or by the help of simple cell organism and in muscle cells. Here the lactic acid is formed in striated muscles, where cramp or strain is felt by us when we do vigorous exercise or the work continuously, some physical exercise, due to which our muscle cells can't get enough oxygen, due to which lactic acid is formed, and that lactic acid causes the strain in our muscle cells. Clear, students? So only about 7% of energy is released during fermentation. 7% of energy, this is important, 7% of energy is formed during fermentation. Why? Because oxygen supply is not sufficient, so the amount of energy means in the form of ATP is produced less. It means through anaerobic respiration, total number of ATP formed is 2. You know about this. The total number of ATP formed is 2. So how this ATP is formed? When we will study about aerobic respiration and electron transport system in respiration, then we will know how the 2 or how the number of ATP is formed, means 2. That's why we can say only 2 ATP is formed. It means during anaerobic respiration 2 ATP is formed. Clear, students? And you know about this. When the alcohol concentration reaches about 13% in the yeast, then it will produce ethanol along with releasing of carbon dioxide. Means during fermentation, yeast respires in the absence of oxygen, and during respiration it releases carbon dioxide, and rest of the pyruvate is get converted into to form ethanol or alcohol. That's why it is said that when the alcohol concentration reaches about 13%, the yeast cells become poison and die. Do you understand something from this? It means when during the fermentation of any fruit juice or in fermented beverages or fermented industries, when ethanol or alcohol is prepared artificially also, they see whether the concentration is beyond 13%. What happens at 13%? At 13%, due to its poison quality, or it gets poisoned, and at that percent the yeast get died. We will write this: when the concentration of ethanol or alcohol reaches 13%, then it get poisoned and the yeast get died. At 13% concentration, the function of yeast is completed and they release ethanol and carbon dioxide. So this is how fermentation occurs. Clear? Now let's see how glucose get oxidized. As we know here, the oxygen is not sufficiently available. That's why this is called as anaerobic respiration. So here let's see the steps. First, glucose get converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Again, reduction of NAD plus occurs to NADH plus H plus and it gives 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Again, the 3-phosphoglyceric acid get converted into phosphophenol pyruvic acid. And that phosphophenol pyruvic acid is get converted into pyruvic acid, because pyruvic acid is used by different type of organisms, means by prokaryotes and eukaryotes, in single celled organism and multicellular organism at different positions. Suppose when aerobic respiration occurs, it takes place in the mitochondria, but when anaerobic respiration occurs, it either occur in the cytoplasm or in the muscle cells. So here pyruvic, the process of formation of pyruvic acid, means glucose get converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, then NAD plus reduced, means reductase enzyme converts NAD plus to NADH plus H plus, then we get 3-phosphoglyceric acid, then it again get converted into phosphophenol pyruvic acid, and the phosphophenol pyruvic acid is now get converted into pyruvic acid. How it will get converted into pyruvic acid? By the action of some enzymes. Then the pyruvic acid, again here it was reduced, but here hydrogen is added to it, means NADH plus H plus makes NAD plus again, and it will get converted into lactic acid. As I have told you that we are studying about anaerobic respiration, in which fermentation, and in fermentation two things are formed. One is ethanol or alcohol and another is lactic acid. So here from pyruvic acid lactic acid is formed, and here again the pyruvic acid, here in pyruvic acid NADH plus H plus get converted into NAD plus, means hydrogen is added here and lactic acid is formed. But here again the same pyruvic acid. These steps are formation of pyruvic acid, and again how pyruvic acid is utilized. This is occur in muscle cell, means lactic acid is formed in muscle cell, and here again NADH plus H plus is get converted into NAD and makes ethanol, carbon dioxide and H2O. So here ethanol is formed which is in yeast, and here lactic acid is formed in the muscle cell. You can write striated muscle. In the striated muscle. So this is the complete process of fermentation, which is a part of anaerobic respiration, and here the total number of ATP formed is 2 ATP. Whether the respiration takes place aerobically or anaerobically, at all cost energy is released. That's why respiration is called as an energy giving process. So here energy is in the form of ATP. So this is all about your fermentation. In the next class we will study about aerobic respiration.